is keeping everybody out unless you're willing to be Yahuwah's Israel and to swear the vow of allegiance to be his Kadoshi. That's the letter Het, Tet, and Yod. And when Yahweh said on day one, let there be light, he said the words Yehi Or. And that word Yehi Or is the light of what's inside this compound of the big white fence, separating it exclusively from everything else in the darkness surrounding it. There's the pattern. Yehi Or, Pesach, the big white fence. In the first beatitude in Matthew 5, Yeshua, seeing the multitude, he went up on the mountain and he opened his mouth. That word opened his mouth is spelled Pezadi, Petzah. And if you're not willing to hear the words of Yeshua's open mouth because you think he's an infidel, because your rabbi has told you that he's a scum who's burning in defecation in the bowels of hell at this moment, they're lying and you're lied too. And you'll miss out on the truth of this. But for Yeshua to sit down and say, blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven, is a model that the kingdom of heaven is like this exclusive compound, like Alcatraz Island, like the king's castle with a moat around it, like the pasture of all provision, Kaf Resh, the meadow of Yahweh's feast, his banquet. The word spelled Kaf Resh is the same picture. Yeshua being the great shepherd who is at the door. Nobody gets into my Father's place except through me. If you don't recognize Yeshua, you'll never get this. You'll never see this. You'll never have access to the truth, the reality, without seeing Yeshua. And Yeshua being put to death on Passover is a model of us having access through him to what's represented by Passover. The Passover sacrifice was not a sin sacrifice. However, the spelling of the word Het Tet Yod, look in the dictionary. Het Tet is the word for sin. Okay, whose sin? Het Tet Yod. Yod is the personal suffix, means my. So I could read the alphabetical letters Het Tet Yod as meaning my sin, or I incur guilt. But it also is the word for sin sacrifice. Het Tet Aleph, Het Tet Yod. If you know the suffix endings of Yod and Aleph and He and Vav, they're all related. It also means my sin sacrifice so that I can be cleansed and absolved of guilt and find favor. The same spelling of the same word, Het Tet Yod. I have sinned, I have incurred guilt. My sin sacrifice incurs my guilt for me so that I can be absolved and find favor and cleansed because my sins have been imputed onto my sin sacrifice. It's in the spelling of the word, Het Yod, that sacrifice of Yeshua on that Pesach day, though the Passover sacrifice was not a sin sacrifice, in the reading of the Hebrew letters, I can see and I can claim and I can count on with absolute trust that Yeshua is my sin sacrifice to absolve me of my sin so that I can find favor and entrance into the kingdom of Yod He Vav He as an eternal sanctuary where there is life imputed and a place of Yehi Or, while outside will be the weeping and wailing and gnashing of teeth and the place of the curse and the place of the inferno and the place of death and darkness. That's all model pictures within the letters, within the sequence of the 7 days of creation in Genesis 1, within this pattern, this tabanit in Exodus 25, and this treasure of the witness of Yahuwah's intent and how he fabricated the whole universe, Leviticus 23. And to find out what that means, and to find out how to be pleasing to our dear most gracious Heavenly Father is matzah, and to eat the matzah for a week. And then, as he said, your children will say, why are we doing this? And you'll tell them the story of the Exodus. And so the Torah will be in your mouth. There's something then about the Torah related to the matzah. And right inside that big white fence is the barbecue grill. Right inside. In Exodus 25, where he's telling them how to build everything. He starts off with the ark. It's written in basically reverse order. He uses 4 colors, blue, purple, red, and white. So we've talked about this. There in Exodus 26. You shall make the tabernacle of 10 curtains, linen twisted with turquoise, purple, and scarlet wool. There he starts with linen, but here it says turquoise, purple, and scarlet. It's Tehillet, Memnon, and Shana. Here, Tehillet, Aleph, Resh, Gimel, Mem, Nun, Arg, Aleph, Resh, Gimel, Mem, Nun, Argman. So, I'm just trying to go back to syllables for you. And then the word Shani is the word for red. It's also the number 2, or different, or variant. There's a couple different words for red, but Tehillet, Taf, Kav, Lamed, Tav. Tav, Kaf, Lamed, Kav. Well, there you got 2 letters Tav, first and last, with Kaf, Lamed in the middle. And Kaf, Lamed is the word that means all, each, or every. That's the word translated blue, Tehillet. Everything within the terms of the covenant. I could read that just like Tabanit. What I'm saying is that we could sit here and elaborate every single word and read into it the spelling of the word and what it means. But to find out, what did he say? Zadi Vav is a command. Zadi, then, the picture of the sprout, the command. If you man a crew, if you join the colors, if you sign up to be on the team, in the league, in association, as part of the military or anything domestic, all those, everything I just said is the meaning of the word Zadi Vav. To be Mem Zadi Vav is to join the colors. Which colors? These colors. Yahweh's colors, blue, purple, red, white with gold thread. Those 4 colors. So we use them in the different graphics that are put together. It's used on the embroidery of the Mishkan, on the high priest, his colors. Like I said, University of California is blue and gold. University of Oregon, emerald green and bright yellow. Yahweh's colors, the colors of Yahuwah, blue, purple, red, and white with gold. Okay. You see those colors? That's his name. Yod He Vav He. In my consciousness. So for him to separate water from water on day 2, for him to separate the Passover lamb that was brought as a sacrifice and take its life from its body, take the blood from the carcass, take the skin from the meat, take out the entrails from the edible part, all that's a matter of separating. It's finding out. It lines up with the Torah, the Kaf Lamed, like the word Tehillet. So I see the Kaf Lamed, the 2 letters that line up right after Het Tet Yod, just like you choose life, you enter the kingdom, and right there is everything, Kaf Lamed, everything he said to do is in the Torah. That's Chag Matzot. So to choose life is the big white fence. To read the Torah and find out what are the instructions, what are the protocols of the kingdom, what is the constitution of this empire, that's the week of unleavened bread. That's day 2, separating water from water. That's separating leaven from unleavened. And that's the second beatitude where Yeshua said, blessed are they who mourn, for they will be comforted. Why would you enter the kingdom of life and mourn? Why would you enter the kingdom of life and mourn? Think about that. Shouldn't you be rejoicing? Not if you think about it and recognize how you've wasted your life, how much you've offended the truth, how much you've hated the only real thing, how many lies we've been told. How many years we've wasted with nothingness. How much pain and suffering we ourselves have caused others. And what we've done to offend our dear Yeshua, thinking that we love him, and so we hate these matters which he is wrapped up in, which are his heart, that he invented, that he built the universe out of these things that we loathe, that we abhor, that we sneer and scoff at, because that's what we were taught by our priests and rabbis and pastors and professors. We've inherited it through history from the Greco-Roman culture because Yahweh hid it, because our forefathers rejected it. That's why you mourn. Blessed are they who mourn, for they shall be comforted. And the word comfort, Rachem, Resh Chet Mem, Chet Nun, there's a certain tender loving kindness of Chesed, Chet Samek Dalet. It's all found within looking through the Torah. So why is the Torah the Kaf Lamed? Why is the Torah the festival of Matzah? Day 2, separating water from water. I could even appropriate the 7 churches in the book of Revelation. It all maps, it all fits. Because the pattern is the barbecue grill. Your life is a living sacrifice. Nobody's asking you to commit suicide. But in a way, put your carnal preferences of everything you used to love outside the kingdom to the death as a sacrifice, a living sacrifice, as Paul said, on this barbecue grill, because Yeshua gave us entrance by himself putting himself to the cross outside. He said, no man takes my life, I'm laying it down. Wasn't the Jews, wasn't the Romans. Ratzon, he willingly agreed to run this race from Aleph, from the infinite realm of the Aleph zone into the cosmos of Bet, gimmeling through Dalet, Haid, through the portal of being birthed of a woman to become a man, Vav, who would be put to the weapon Zion, to be put into the tomb, Ket, the round rock, rolled in front, Ket, sealed Yod by his own hand, Aleph, Yod, the first 10 letters, all Kaf Lamed, for you, Kaf, Lamed, Mem, unto being life, Nun, Hey, from where? To be given life through this action. Yod Kaf Lamed spells the word, he will have the power and capacity to prevail and contain it all. He did this to run this gauntlet race so that he, having the power to restore his own life, gives us, imputes us the power to be restored, even though we go through this portal of death. Every man born to the earth will be dying, but he promises this resurrection. Mem Nun, from where? Manna, from where? Mem Nun, water, and that which jumps out of that, the life within the water that jumps out of the water with its own life. A picture of a fish, Nun, jumping out of water, a pool, Mem, that's the laver. That's Mem Nun. That's day 3, where life was spoken into the earth. So just like a seed has life within the earth, in certain conditions it comes to life. So the Nun jumps out of the Mem, certain conditions bring forth life. So on the day of Shavuot is not just a day, it's 50 days of pregnancy, of incubation, of counting, of gestation. Count 7 sevens, count. Memnun is count. Shemen is oil, which is counting. Not just accounting, but giving account for, estimating its value, the names, the places, the numbers, the letters. It's taking to heart everything that we just Kaf Lameded, which is learning in the Torah. The laver, made out of the mirrors, the bronze mirrors of the women, reflection of yourself. Look, ponder, meditate, Haggah, Hey Gimel Hey, Gimel Mem, reflection back, processing back and forth, heaping up, piling, processing, taking it to heart, contemplating, rehearsing. The same meaning as the letter Lamed, So he did this, Yeshua did this, so that Lamed Mem Nun means the word, so that from this, for them, out comes this life. Nooning into Samic, the next letter, in the covered place now. Ket Tet Yod, Kaf Lamed Mem Nun. The fence, the barbecue grill, the laver, outside, the spring festivals, all happening this week or 2 weeks ago, or in this process of this month of Aviv, depending on how you reckon the calendar, but they all three happen all at the same time. The evening of the 14th, the break of day on the 15th, the 14th letter is the Nun, and the 15th letter is the Samic. So right there in the word spelled Nun Samic, Samic, like a tree, like a skeleton, like the mast of a ship, like the power pole, like the menorah. Nun is this lit menorah. The life imparted to the structural model. That's the meaning of the letters. He gave us the Torah, so we mem nun, we contemplate the spelling and the meaning of the words. That's where the life happens. That's given the dormant seed, which is simply a molecular chemical compound with no life. But when you contemplate it, it gives it its life. The nurturing of the water with the sunlight, with the earth around it, somehow he built into the whole universe that this dormant dead seed for thousands of years will come back to life. Israel, Yeshua, Yonah, you. Something will come to life if you're Israel, if you're B'nai Yahuwah, wrapped up in the Tav, in the terms of the covenant. So the letter Samic, a model of the menorah. Do what he said. Tree grows where it's planted. Bear fruit, Galatians 5:22. Love, joy, peace, gentleness, kindness, goodness, meekness, self-control. Do what he said. A picture of the mast of a ship is not just sit in harbor, but go on the voyage. The word for voyage or walk. The manner that you walk is the derek, is halakah, helamed kaf. On the derek, dalet resh kaf. Walk the walk. Do what he said. Bear fruit. Be engaged in the action. That's ayin shin hey, asha, or osei. Osei phele. Hasn't he done wonderful, marvelous? The word pele, or phele, or nephalot, like nephalim, paleo. They're all related words. Wonderful, marvelous, hidden, mystery, astounding. Do what he said. Bear fruit. Be productive. Pay ayin lamed. Paul, Shaul, who changed his name to Paul because he was compelled. He was imposed upon, completely changed his way. Not because he was deceived by the adversary of his soul. It is because he was brought to visually pay ayin lamed. The mouth opened, these words opened, and his eyes were opened to the lamed, the instruction of the Torah. Paul is the word in Hebrew that says, I finally understand that the words of the Torah, the teaching of the open mouth. Pay ayin lamed. So he changed his life. He became the model of those he had been killing. He realized that the deception was what he had learned at the feet of Gamaliel. He was the star student. He was like the word's greatest student, the word's smartest, world's smartest man. Gamaliel was the great rabbi, and Paul was star pupil, a zealot for the cause of his Elohim, and yet he realized he was wrong. So he changed his ways based on what he now saw. The ayin is the letter that means understanding. It's to bear fruit. It is the fruit. To be a branch on the tree that bears fruit is the Samic, then the eyeball, the ayin, drawn like a fruit with a seed in it, is the letter ayin. So here you have Samic ayin, and then the mouth that eats the fruit, that's the letter pei, the mouth that opens. Samic ayin pei work together like that rotary Mazda engine that, Kurt, you put up a couple weeks ago on the graphic. Do these things. Lines up with Micah 6:8. He has shown you, O man, what Elohim requires of you. Do justly. That's be the menorah. Love mercy. That's the fruit of the ayin. Walk humbly with your Elohim. That's the pei. That's the 3 fall festivals of Yom Teruah, Yom Kippur, and Sukkot. The 3 beatitudes. Blessed are they who hunger and thirst after righteousness, for they will be filled, lining up with the menorah. Blessed are the merciful, for they will receive mercy, lining up with the ayin, having mercy for your neighbor. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see Elohim. That lines up with the pei. That's the menorah, the table of showbread, and the altar of incense. That's day 4, 5, and 6. The menorah, the light in the dark covered place, that's the day he put the sun, moon, and stars in the sky. The table of showbread, the letter ayin, lining up with day 5, well, he put fish in sea and birds in the air. That's kind of like a motif, a picture of dwellers above and dwellers below. Is that like heaven and hell? Is that like demons and angels? Is that like a tipping of the scales of balance? Judgment? That's like Yom Kippur. That speaks of judgment being atoned for. Scales tipped, found wanting or balanced, or they're picture types. And then the letter pei lines up with day 6, where he put animals and men on the face of the earth to dwell together, comrades, neighbors, associates. The letter pei, the festival of Sukkot. Another dimension, the dimension of his mouth, overriding even the realm of the 5th earlier dimension of demons and angels, which override or influence the realm of time, the menorah, sun, moon, and stars, which catalog, which index, which orchestrate the matters that we take to heart as the living ones who are contemplating the black and white words of the Torah, which is the kingdom of life. Tet and Yod, choose life, the kingdom of Yahweh. Kaf Lamed, the black and white words of instruction. Read these words, teach and learn. Lamed means teach and learn, is where you get the word Talmudim, or translated as disciple, disciplined ones. So that Mem Nun, take it to heart, ponder. Your own self becomes just like the caterpillar, like Yeshua, the Vav man, the caterpillar type, goes into an apparent tomb, a chrysalis, apparently dead, seeming to be dead. Yeshua was dead. Whether Yonah was dead, that's another question. Lazarus, but the caterpillar type is it is transformed. You go into the big white fence, you learn the Torah, you're transformed by pondering and taking, and it's your own life, which then noons from that mem, through Samic, through ayin, out pei, and bursting open pei zadi, as the butterfly comes out of that chrysalis, as Yeshua comes out of that tomb, as Yonah was vomited out from that great fish. Those are pictures of in the springtime, after the dormancy of winter, where everything looks dead, the flower bursts open, Zadi. That's the Sabbath day on the other side of that week, where the first Sabbath day, the 7th day, the letter Zion, then we have Tet Yod is 1, Kaf Lamed is 2, Mem Nun is 3, and then Stomach, ayin, pei, 4, 5, and 6. Zadi makes it the 7th. It's a encoded key pattern. It's a key which opens up a secret cryptic lock, Zafan, Zadi Pei Nun, which has been hidden for all these years. So the Zadi is a type of Sabbath day code, and the Zion is a type of Sabbath day code. Zion is where Yeshua was crucified. Zadi is the resurrection. But Zadi is also the place of the Ark of the Covenant. Zion is the place of the red heifer sacrifice. So there's something about the red heifer sacrifice where those who were in contact with the dead, who were defiled and were not allowed to bring their sacrificial offering to the Mishkan. They were not allowed to enter into the Mishkan zone unless they had been cleansed by the ashes of the red heifer that was apportioned by the priest, who made up out of ashes, you make lye, a type of soap. Was it just a ceremonial water? Was it a type of, I don't know. I don't know if anybody knows. It's written of in the scripture, and I've heard people say that nobody knows what's the significance of the red heifer sacrifice. But if you're in contact with the dead, if you used to be one of the skull and bones, if you used to think that pirates were cool, if you used to think that tattoos of skulls and demons were the great thing, they do look pretty cool. Pirate's flag, yeah, the swords and the skulls, yeah, don't mess with me. Well, it's the place of the dead. It's a place of darkness. It's a place of wailing, gnashing of teeth, and eternal damnation. To choose life is to turn your back on that, to offer that entire consciousness under the altar of sacrifice and become born unto the kingdom of Yahuwah as a new creature. Just like Paul turned his back on being Shaul and became known as Paul. It's a different life. Same way a butterfly is different than a caterpillar. It's the model. To completely turn your back on that past consciousness and to be given a different consciousness. Sorry, Christmas and Easter and Sunday are left outside. Dropped on the floor like the skin of the sheep that was offered to be put on the sacrifice, the bronze altar. Yeshua to be sacrificed outside as the priest type, thus cleansing those that had been in contact with the dead, that loved the darkness, that loved the dark carnival. His death being type of the red heifer sacrifice, so that anybody who knew that they were defiled infidels could be cleansed and find favor because of his sacrifice, so that they could enter the kingdom, Chet Tet Yod, through that veil of death, of Yeshua's blood, modeled by the Passover lamb. Though the Passover lamb was not a sin sacrifice, Chet Tet Yod is. Then you can read the Torah. Then you can understand the instructions of the Constitution, the protocols of the kingdom, of the blue, purple, red, white, and gold. Then you can memnoon contemplate these matters to have life, matzah, so that you will then be planted in his garden of delight, in his Gan Eden, Garden of Eden. Eden, Ayin Dalet Nun, the place where his witness and testimony, his Ayin Dalet thrives. Ayin Dalet Nun, to choose, to judge, to decide. Dawn, Dana. I choose, Adonai, to be a tree planted in his garden, bearing his fruit. Those who hunger and thirst have to be filled with his righteousness. That's the Samik. That's the menorah. That's the Adonai. And then that fruit which is born is weighed, measured, and determined because a man's way is measured back to him. Every little piece, good for good, bad for bad. So the letter Ayin is this reminder, like the scales of justice, that everything we do, even though it's inside this place, everything we do will be measured back. So do to one another as you would have done to you, because that's what's going to happen. And that's the heart of the kingdom. So Micah 6:8, do justly, love mercy, walk humbly with your Elohim. That's the perpetual just humming, like the Mazda engine. Just be about this business. Bear fruit, The fruit's inspected, the fruit's eaten, and then the fruit that you ate is used as fertilizer to put on the tree to bear more fruit. It's the cycle of life. And then the hope set before us, this Zadi, like the Sabbath day, like the Ark of the Covenant behind the veil. And the Beatitude, blessed are the peacemakers, because they will be called, or they will be given the name of sons of Elohim, B'nai Israel. And then the last one, blessed are you, for men shall revile you and persecute you and say all manner of evil against you falsely for my sake. But rejoice in being exceeding glad, for great is your reward in heaven. In heaven? Or is that word heaven Shemayim, where he says, for great is your reward? It has been named, designated, placed, appointed, evaluated, and held for you when you get there, which is back here, which is wherever that is. But the thing is, he has it, which is a picture of the letter Kuf, which is a picture of the pillar of fire and pillar of smoke that was above the Ark of the Covenant, which is the overview, which is that canopy. So the top of the letter Kuf is this arch canopy, like Andrew Hoy's Mishkan, which throws you back to the outside. It's like this big umbrella, which drops you back into the place of darkness and saying, even though you're in the realm of darkness, where those of the dark carnival will revile you and gnash their teeth at you and try to torment you, just like we were reading in, was it Psalm 68 and Psalm 37? The righteous ones will attract the ire and the venom and the loathing of the dead of the darkness. They just will. That's the way it works. That's what Yahweh built. So don't worry about it. It's like you're the cheese in the rat trap, and as soon as they stick their hand to get you, the trap will come down and take off their hand or take off their head, whatever they have got coming. But you guys are the bait when you do righteousness. Okay. So when Yeshua said the kingdom of heaven is within you, so that pattern that I asked you to put up with the grace around, and then there's the black, and then there's the white in the middle. It was actually white with black and then white. It's like the kingdom of heaven is this eternal realm, Aleph through Zion. That's how he set this thing up. And then Aleph through the Vav is the transition. The Vav is like this goblet. The Vav is like this bridge. The Vav is a connector, a nail, a hook, that which connects like a bridge. So Yeshua, the Vav man, is this bridge that come down. And so here's the kingdom of heaven, available, accessible to us, kept through Zadi. Then Kuf is this other transition letter back to the infinite realm of Reshin Tav, because Kuf also means after this. It's a type of bridge after this, connection, behind the head, that which coming in the future. So just like the smoke that goes up, or the pillar of fire, pillar of smoke, with the question mark, the exclamation point, to answer, to make something clear, to answer is also barar, the Brit, to explain and make clear an impossible mystery. It's right here in these letters. Shemini Atzeret would line up with the Zadi, the one letter right outside the week of Sukkot, just like Pesach is the one day, the one letter right outside the festival of unleavened bread. And you say, well, things don't look like they match. How do you make this stuff up? It's a secret code. Yeshua, hey, look at this man that we're designating, Hevav Zion, red heifer sacrifice. Put to death, Roman scourge, Zion. Het Yod, Pesach, put into the grave. 3 days and nights. Kaf Lamed, that's 1. Memnun, that's 2. Samach Ayin Pei, those 3 work as 1. So in one count to 3, another count to 1. Kind of like the Trinity. The 3 is 1, but it's 3, but it's 1, but it's 3, but it's 1. Samach Ayin Pei, Yom Teruah, Yom Kippur, Sukkot. And then all by itself, the one that people love to forget, like the Sabbath day, Shemini Atzeret. You can find it in Leviticus 23. Verse 33 of Leviticus 23, Yahweh spoke to Moshe saying, see, that's how I know it's its own festival, because it starts off, Yahweh spoke to Moshe saying, he gave it its own designation. And the people who say that Sukkot is the seventh festival are wrong. They missed it. The key won't open this door. Speak to the children of Israel saying, on the 15th day of the seventh month is the festival of Sukkot, a 7-day period for Yahweh. And the first day is a holy convocation. Do not do any laborious work. For 7-day period, you shall offer a firing offering to Yahweh. And on the 8th day, that's Shemini, 8, Shemin, there shall be a holy convocation, and you shall offer a fire offering to Yahweh. It is an assembly. And that word assembly is ayin zadi resh, atzarat. You shall not do any laborious work. Well, that word atzer also means stoppage. To stop and have an assembly is the word atzeret. So it's called Shemini Atzeret. But it's connected with Sukkot, but it's not Sukkot. Sukkot's 7-day, and this is the 8th day. It's kind of like this added thing, like Passover was part of the week of unleavened bread, but it's not the 7-day week, it's the 8th. So here you have 1 and then 7, and then here at the end, like bookends, you have 7 and then 1. It's a secret code. When I say secret, is because most people have no regard of Passover as being separate from unleavened bread, and they don't have a regard of Shemini Atzeret as being different than the 7th day of Sukkot. So Leviticus 23 is written in code, and it lines up with the letters of the alphabet. It lines up with the Mishkan. It lines up with the Beatitudes, lines up with the 7th day of creation. The 2 letters that are weapons, Zadi is a fishhook, a barb. Zion is an axe, something, or it could be, they say it could be Zion is any weapon. It could be a lance or a spear or a knife. But the point is, they both got points. Both Zion and Zadi are dangerous weapons. They both represent the Sabbath day. One represents Yeshua being crucified, and the other one represents him being risen from the dead. The crucifixion and the Ark of the Covenant are the 2 pictures, the 2, you might say, the greatest moments in the entire Bible, both Old and New Testament, is the Ark of the Covenant and the crucifixion or the resurrection. And if those 2 are both represented by the letters that represent the Sabbath day, then for us to throw away the Sabbath day means that we've thrown away the essence, the testimony, the ayin dalet of both those articles, the Ark of the Covenant, the evidence of Yahweh's present tense with us, and Yeshua's crucifixion and resurrection, which is his present tense with us. It's all thrown away. It's all brought to nothing. It's all been exchanged. And when, like he said, for that malak, going back to that thing, Leviticus 23, that Paul asked me to look at, the word melech is angel. Mem, lamed, aleph, kaf. Right in the middle of mem, lamed, aleph, kaf is lamed, aleph. That's the word no, not, or non. Mem as a prefix means the place of, the object of, or it means the opposite of. Kaf is a suffix letter, means you. So I could read the word malak as simply angel, but the word mem lamed aleph also means fullness, plenty, complete, confirm, and accomplish. So I could read the word malak as your fullness, your confirmation, your completeness. But mem means the place of, so I can say the place where it's not you. But mem means the opposite also, so I could read it's the opposite of your negation, which is your fullness. But if mem is a prefix, then I could look at lamed aleph kaf, and it means to send. That's like on a construction crew, if you have a lackey, he's just the gopher, which means he's the guy that goes to do this and goes to do that. The apprentice or the guy that's the you send on errands. Here, go get me some of this. Go get me a bucket of that. Go to the store. He's the lackey. He's the gopher. Well, the word lackey comes from lamed aleph kaf, lack, and it means to send. So an angel is Yahweh's lackey. Mem is the one who is Lamed Aleph Kaf, the one who is sent. So the word angel simply means the one who is sent. Aleph, but if Lamed is the prefix, means unto or regarding, then Aleph Kaf is the word, and that means, like in the word Ak Sameach, translated only rejoice. Ak, Aleph Kaf means only, surely, truly. It also means but, or however. So if somebody says this is what it is, but there's also this, it's bringing the truth to the matter. Aleph Kaf. The one sent to bring truth to the matter. That's the word angel. The word Mem Lamed Aleph Kaf Hey, putting the Hey suffix, means work, occupation, service, use, or mission, or to send on a mission. If you go sent to a mission as a missionary, or if you're just sent on a mission to go to the store and buy a piece of wood, that makes you an angel. That makes you a messenger. That makes you a melachah. A delegation, melachot, or a delegated job description. Mem Lamed Aleph Kaf Vav Tav Yod melchot T is artificial or artifice or something made by hand. Mem Lamed Aleph Kaf Tav Yod melach T is mechanical. So when he says about don't do any work on the Sabbath day, it has to do, it's all the same word as angel. If he said, don't be an angel on the Sabbath day, oh, okay, what am I supposed to do? It basically means don't send anybody on a mission, or don't be sent on a mission. Aleph Kaf Nun, Aken, means to locate, indeed, truly. Mem Lamed, Aleph Kaf, again, changing the suffix to a nun. What does all this mean? Who did Yahuwah send in Exodus 23, right after the Ten Commandments, right before he gave the description of how to build the Mishkan, right before he gave this pattern? He says, I'm going to send you a messenger to go before you to ensure that you're brought to the place that I have already prepared. Kind of reminds me of Elijah. The Jews believe that Elijah may show up at any day of Passover, so they traditionally set an extra plate at the table, what's called the Seder. Seder's not a bad thing, some people think it is, but the Seder literally means that there's a particular order to be done something. The alphabet has a particular order. Aleph, Bet, Gimel, Dalet, He, Vav, Zayin. Counting has an order, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Days of creation have a particular order. Everything he did, Yehi Or, let there be light, separated water, separated earth from water and put seed life in, and then put sun, moon, and stars, and then fish and birds, and then animals and man, and then the Sabbath day. That's a Seder. That's an order to the 10 plagues that hit Egypt. There's a message there. We've gone through that before. There's a message in the order of the Mazarot, the Shemayim, the Shemot, the order of the places and names. There's an order and an orchestration which can be analyzed. That's the word Bereshit. He made it fit to be examined, investigated, tested, proved, and clarified. Sharpened, like the Zion, like the Zadi, the Sabbath day, sharpened to give you the door of access to the secret things of the kingdom. Who's Elijah? Eliyahu. Aleph Lamed Hey, or Aleph Lamed Yod. Toward me, Yah. It exists. Yah is the verb to exist. Toward me, reference me is where existence is. That's the word Eliyahu. He's going to send Eliyahu the prophet. The word prophet is Nun Bet Aleph, which means the one who engages the entrance, the one who opens the door, the one who causes the occasion to arise. And so they have plates set for Eliyahu the prophet. And then Yeshua said, if you can handle it, this John the Baptist, this Yochanan the baptizer, the immerser. Was Elijah the prophet? But so is coming to these words. Returning to the Torah is Eliah, the Neviah. It's just like John the Baptist. Just like Moshe coming out of the wilderness to say to Pharaoh, let my people go. That's for Ephraim to come back to these words, the 10 lost tribes, to find their way out of the wilderness to the Mishkan, to the Or, the light of this Torah. For brother Yahudah, the other kingdom, the southern kingdom, to finally realize that Yeshua is in these letters, that the testimony of the crucifixion is in these Moedim, and the resurrection from the dead. Ezekiel 37 plays into Jeremiah 31 of coming back, read the two houses, and Yahweh's blessing to be restored on his people, and all of our adversaries being taken out on their own hangman's noose, like Haman of Persia being hung on, and all his sons. It's like the New World Order boys being, and the Jesuits being hung on their own scaffolds of the great COVID. All right, make it so, Yahweh. Hallelujah. So that's why we will eat unleavened bread for a week. And that's why we will sit down on Shabbat. And that's why we will keep the Moedim and not Sunday, Christmas, and Easter. To the glory, to the gavod of the great Shem, the Shem HaGadol of Yahuwah, our Kadoshi, our betrothed. Anyway, Kurt, does that explain the Mishkan pattern?
You know, it's one of these things where I have to go through it more than once, but I'm glad we dedicated at least a video to it completely again. It's just a matter, I guess, of learning. It's a matter of learning. I can't get over the white fence right now. I'm kind of obsessed with it. I'm kind of obsessed with this picture behind me. You know, I'm kind of thinking about the whole 12 tribes scattered amongst the earth, the promise of Abraham that his seed would be spread, they would number the stars, and how that was accomplished. Like, it looks like a curse, but he brings it to good. You know, we're everywhere. We're everywhere. We're literally everywhere. You know, and how we can't have access to what's inside that white fence until now. You know, even though it was right in front of them. You think about them coming out of Egypt, and I've often thought, like, a pillar of smoke by day and a fire by night. Like, how do you not remember, even while it's happening, and just make the statement that we're probably better off to go back and be slaves in Egypt, even though there's like miracles happening right in front of you?
What were they thinking? How could they be of that mind, of that heart? It's hard to comprehend, but we could put it in a position right now and say, how could we also be in that mind and heart?
Well, right. And I think, like, if I was back then, I would have done exactly what they did now. I used to think differently, but now because I was a Christian. I prayed to Jesus. I was baptized in that name. You know, I wasn't allowed in that tabernacle. I wasn't allowed on the white fence. I didn't deserve it. I was supposed to be on the outside because I was worshiping the wrong Elohim Makrim. You know, but as we go through these videos every single week, you know, and I want to encourage people. I have the advantage of editing them, so I spend 40 to 50 hours a week learning these words and these letters. You know, and it's sticking. You know, and people could we post Eric's notes so that you guys can see how I say conjugating verbs, because it's like what you do in Spanish when you learn Spanish, but this is different. Like think about this. There's probably 3 million people surrounding that white fence, and only a small group have access to what's inside there. Now you, Israel, all of Israel's descendants have access to what's inside there, because he left. Yahuwah left. That he's us. He's in us now. Because of Yahushua, he's in us. He's like, come back. And you can't understand what Messiah is doing when he's on the earth until you go through an entire year of the festivals. You know, the feast days. Yeah, you got to do them, and then it starts to click. It starts to make sense. You know, somebody had asked about the verse in Acts about you know, should we have them? I think it's Paul and Peter, maybe it's Peter and James having a discussion about should we have them be circumcised, just abstain from meats sacrificed to pagan deity. And then, you know, the guy was asking, like, it seemed like the law changed, but what if you go every single week on the Shabbat to learn the Torah, in the course of a year, you will cover the entire Torah. That's like, what else do you need? You know, you don't need to force people to do anything. Just spend 1 year in that cycle, and it starts to make sense. It's either going to play on your heart and you're going to do it because you want to, or you're going to walk away and say, this is all a bunch of crap and I want to go back to Egypt.
You know, let me mention one other thing. You know, I made a point of referring to this stuff as Greco-Roman, Western, Greek, Latin, Western, Yod Mem. We mentioned that last week because those are words that are used. But there's a whole nother orientation of Oriental culture to the east. If you go towards India, they have this thing called the Brahmins. Well, apparently that came from the word Abraham. Apparently the Apostle Thomas went to India, and apparently Sanskrit, the most ancient, other than I believe Paleo-Hebrew, the most ancient of languages, there's a correlation with Hebrew. And then when you get to, for example, Japan, which is as far as east as you can go from Israel to the island off the coast, we've mentioned this before, but there's something called the Kyoto Festival, Kyoto. Kyoto is a city in Japan, and they have a Middle Eastern theme, and it goes back centuries, and they don't know why. But then somebody did some research a few years ago, and they said about a third of the Japanese people can trace their lineage to Israel. So people from Israel came over there, and in the Shinto faith, there's many correlations to ancient Hebrew stuff. They have a round box on their head instead of the Jews have a square, and they have even the name, I believe it was Yod-Heh Vav-Heh or Aleph-Heh Yod-Heh is written in a Hebrew font on a mirror in the highest shrine of a Shinto temple, and their priests wear tassels like zitzio. And what I'm saying is that people refer to the Hebraic roots of the Christian faith as this movement of returning to the Torah. Well, there could be going on presently also the Hebrew roots of the Shinto faith. And if you were brought up in Hinduism or Buddhism or whatever other stuff is going on, or even Islam, you know that it's not a matter of anybody saying one of these religions is better than the other. It has nothing to do with any of those religions. It's who is Ehyeh, who gave us his name Yahuwah and his Torah. What does he want us to do? How do we do it?